Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. From my car, we are bringing you alive. Me and Michali are going to be answering a question that's actually been asked on the AMA. I got a ton of questions. I don't think there's any chance that I can get to all of them. But I thought that I would answer one with Michali, so we're just waiting for her to join. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. This seems like this is a very good time. Everybody's on Instagram. We usually do this at like lunchtime on a Monday or a Tuesday, and oh, hi, Michali, I see you. Okay, let me see how I can add you 1 second. Accept. I'm really excited to see you, Michali. I haven't seen you in forever.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Your video is like a bit choppy, like the actual like image of it, but I can totally hear you. So let's go with that one, yeah?
Amazing. Okay, just for whoever doesn't know, right now I'm in Maryland and we're dealing with a complete power outage here.
Crazy.
So it, just makes us really appreciate air conditioning when we're going to get it, God willing.
I didn't even think about air conditioning. I was thinking that your biggest issue was your like internet.
Internet. That's the second issue.
Okay.
The first is air conditioning. The second is internet, and the third is food.
Food. Oh my God. Like you can't have anything like in terms
Can't cook.
of can't cook.
Everything's off.
Oh,
Yep.
you can't even make yourself like a smoothie because that's like electric.
Exactly. We can't make the smoothies.
That,
Can't cook
that is
pasta for the kids. Nothing.
that is not fun.
It's fun.
That is not fun. And what are they saying is coming back on?
They keep pushing off the time. So it was supposed to be earlier, like at 6, and then now they're saying 7:30, but it's still not on.
Oh my God.
So you all are getting the non-air conditioned version of Michali. So
Michali, so I'll take it. I'll take you anyway.
it's the glow. It's the sweat glow.
Welcome.
I recommend everyone tries that moisturizer.
Yeah.
Good news is you get it for free and it's natural. So all natural ingredients.
Yeah. Well, there's a different kind of price you pay, but yeah.
Oh yes, your sanity.
Totally.
So what question do we have for today?
Okay, so how to deal with a 12-year-old girl that's very chutzpahdik. So for anyone that doesn't know, that means like extremely rude. So I just chose one of the questions from the AMA because there were so many, and I figured like it's something fresh. Everything on the form has been responded to as the last I checked, so I figured this would
Amazing.
a good thing to discuss, and it's something we never discussed. And I figured you're like an amazing parent. If anyone doesn't know, I'm friends with Michali off the gram, and I literally like drool over her like momminess. So like I can tell you that she is a really good person to give like mommy advice. I know your kids are not like really old enough to be super chutzpahdik, but I just don't feel like you never know, right? But I still feel like
definitely.
you've got this. You've got this. Like I plan to call you with my questions, so I figured this would be a good thing to discuss. I mean, it is a 12-year-old, so I feel like she's somewhat like she's almost like a teenager, and that can be like a piece to address, even just from like a therapeutic perspective, which I think is why they were asked the question to begin with. It's not like, oh, how do I deal with like my 5-year-old that's chutzpahdik, which is also a thing, in the question.
For sure.
So what would you say?
So I guess I want to first just give context to my answer because, like they always say, like when you're getting advice from people, you always want to look at who's giving you the guidance and advice.
Yeah.
So I just want to explain my background and the limitations of it so that everyone who's watching this can just take what I say with a grain of salt.
Okay, sure.
So I've read an insane amount of parenting books. I used to work at a school for many years with elementary school age, junior high school age, and high school age.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of clinical experience working with this age. And that being said, I, as a parent, took a parenting course to better and improve my own parenting skills. I'm constantly, every single day, sometimes minute to minute, working on myself, failing many, many times, just to be the best version of my parental self as possible to my kids.
Wow.
So I just want to give that background just so people know that I still don't consider myself an expert despite everything that I just said. I'm still constantly learning, constantly making mistakes. So the first thing I would say to somebody who has a child who is chutzpahdik, aka disrespectful, is do not personalize it. Okay. It's acting out a feeling in a non-constructive, a destructive way. And the child is having a big feeling that they don't know how to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first thing I would say is don't personalize it.
Mm-hmm.
First, this is based on what I've learned myself from my courses I've gone to, from books, everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is you want to regulate your own nervous system, because for most of us parents, when a child is being disrespectful, our energy rises. We're starting to get angry and upset. We're feeling like we're losing control, and we're feeling helpless and overwhelmed. So our nervous system is literally amped up, right? So our heart rates might be beating, might be going, higher, and we might be sweating. We might start tunnel visioning. And so the best thing that we can do first is to create space so that we can calm down our nervous system. So we might say something like, you know what? Mama needs a timeout, or I want to hear what's going on, because clearly there's a lot going on here. I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to the bathroom. Whatever it is, get yourself some space so that you can just breathe. And I know this sounds very simple, sometimes annoyingly simple,
but it's the hardest
breathing,
thing to do at those moments.
Yes, exactly. Breathing is the number one easiest way to regulate our nervous systems. God created it in such a way that we can just access it anytime. And it literally, the more that we're breathing and deeply breathing, the more we can calm our bodies, and most importantly, our minds, so that we can tap into creative, loving energy to be there for our child. Okay, so that's step number one. You have to take care of yourself first, and make sure that you have some sanity in order to take care of other people. Once you take care of yourself,
I think step number one is like depersonalize. Yeah, I would say, like you said, initially, step number one is like depersonalize. Don't take it personally. And then step number two is probably like to really take that moment for yourself. I guess to like give you a chance to take it not personally. But like I can imagine that like as a mother, you'd be like, what did I do? Like, how did I raise such a thing that can talk this way? Like.
Oh, for sure. I have my moments all the time like that. I would say the first step is really to regulate our nervous system, just because sometimes we don't even have the space in our minds to think about depersonalizing, right? So a child says something so obnoxious to me, I just might just be like, how could you see that? Oh my God, right? And I need to kind of calm my system down and then say to myself, they're not directing this straight to you. They're directing it to, it's really coming from a big feeling that they don't yet know how to manage, right? It's almost, how long is the power outage going on for? For a nice amount of time. It's been hours and hours. So that's the first step. I would say the first like category is dealing with yourself. Okay. Now, if someone's asking the question, can you also talk about teachers? How do you deal with teenagers acting out in school? Okay. So I can get to that in a minute.
Right,
so the second step.
I just want to stay focused.
Yeah. So the second category is then showing up for your child. Okay. So you want to still consider it that they're your child who has big feelings. They don't know how to navigate it. I think it's really important to frame it that way, as opposed to they're doing something to me, or they're bad people, or how could I raise someone as nasty as that, right? And you want to really.
We'll stay there for a second. You froze me, Holly. Is your power outage affecting your phone too? Looks like we lost Michali. Maybe she's gonna come back on. Hang on with us, guys and gals. Let me see if I could invite her again.
Yes, that's the answer. The power outage is affecting my phone too. I heard that. But I had a crazy power outage.
I said it like very seriously, and then I was like, that could have sounded like very sarcastic.
Well, either way, I thought it was amazing. See, I'm going to practice what it's like to regulate your nervous system and just stay grounded and present.
You're doing this. Like, this has been like, Michali did not have to do this today. She's just like,
thank you.
Why not? Like, I don't know. You're cool.
Why not? like there's like yoga and then there's hot yoga. So
Mhm.
there's lives and then there's hot lives. I'm experiencing a hot live right
Hot
now.
life. Okay.
Yeah. So I was saying, so category number one is helping yourself. Category two, how to help your child.
Yeah.
So you want to first join them in the feeling, okay? Just like your nervous system needed to get regulated. If they're
Mm-hmm.
speaking disrespectfully, that means they're dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're not going to be able to speak calmly and with their own heads and minds
Mm-hmm.
because clearly they're not in their right mind if they're going to say something like that to a caretaker who's supposed to be there for them and take care of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to first understand them and their feeling and
Mm-hmm.
say something like, wow, it sounds like you're really upset right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear more about this. Let's talk about this, right? So you're taking this big feeling and instead of bashing it or instead of punishing them, you really want to first join them and understand this big feeling, right? And get to know it. Okay, so you're really upset with me right now, right? You're really upset with mommy.
Mm-hmm.
What's making you so upset? What is
Mm-hmm.
it that you want? What's going on? What is it that you need? Right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times kids act out when they feel like they don't have any control over their own needs and they feel trapped. The
Mm-hmm.
only, like, I don't know if anyone here has ever seen a trapped squirrel before,
Mm-hmm.
but the way that squirrels are when they're feeling trapped is they're vicious. Like they attack because they're literally fighting for their lives or they think
Mm-hmm.
they're fighting for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Teens, kids, they work the exact same way. Teens are just big kids. They're just big babies. So it's the same
Mm-hmm.
idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they are frantic and they're going to try to pack a big punch because they feel like that's the only way to get out of feeling trapped. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to basically create space by joining that big feeling and saying like, hey, what is it that you're fighting for here? Like, what is it that you need? Okay. So if it's something like, I'm just going to think of like a typical teen
Mm-hmm.
complaint. You're not getting me the phone that I wanted, or you're not letting me hang out with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I see that's really important for you, right? Like what is then you want to understand like what does this phone mean to them? Maybe it's their connection and kesher to their social life. You want to understand what their social life means to them, right? Maybe they feel like they're a little on the nerdy side and they think this is their ticket to fit in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to access that if you're punishing them for being chutzpahdik,
Wow.
right? So you
This is so
want to
enlightening to
just
me.
get in their world.
Yeah.
What?
This is so enlightening to me because, like, I would think, like, the first thing you would say is, like, you can't speak to mommy like that. And when you're ready to
Mhm.
speak, appropriately, you can come back to me. Like, I don't know. That would be, like, my,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's, like, I think I was raised like that and I turned out
I
okay.
was raised like, yeah, we didn't, I grew up very like old school traditional, like
Yeah.
myself and my siblings, like we were never chutzpah to my parents and we never said no to my parents, like
Yeah,
ever,
if we were,
ever.
like, even, like, slightly chutzpah, like, that was, like, one thing that was never tolerated. And, like, if we
Yeah,
were never, like, you're
exactly.
having a big feeling, let's talk about this. Never.
Yeah. Yeah, never. And so I'm
And my
totally
mom's a therapist, so
experimenting.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally experimenting here with my own kids
Yeah.
because, as a therapist and, someone who's like constantly learning, I'm always like trying to think of new ways of navigating things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a child that's different than you, then you
Mm-hmm.
can't copy how you were raised, even if you like it. Like I
Correct.
liked most of my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't copy how my parents raised me because my kids have very, very different personalities than me and they
Right.
have
And
very
it's a
different
different generation.
needs.
It's a different generation.
Everybody is different.
Right.
Everyone, even just personality wise and core needs wise is so different. And so this is why parenting is so hard because there's no manual that can explain your child,
Correct.
right? You as the parent have to become the expert
Mm-hmm.
on your child. And
Mm-hmm.
as they grow and develop, you have to learn new tools to match that growth and development, right?
Right.
So that's why parenting is so hard is because
Right.
you're constantly thinking on your feet and trying to learn new things as your child becomes a new version of themselves every day. And you
Correct.
can't look to your neighbor, you can't look to your rabbi, you can't look to even a parenting expert more than you can look toward to yourself and to your child to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to guide them, right?
Right.
So back to
Just
this question. Yeah.
a 3 minute like heads up that we have to end just because I have to be back home in time to pray.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing all these questions. So maybe we'll do
Maybe
another
we'll do
live
another
with
live
the
with, yeah, I don't
questions. Yeah.
mind.
In terms of like someone had asked about school, which I thought was a great,
Right.
and then like talking about big feelings. So, okay. So
So just to summarize,
what,
yeah, you said.
yeah. So take care of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regulate nervous system, depersonalize. Then category number 2 is helping your child with their big
Mm-hmm.
feeling, right? So
Mm-hmm.
getting into their world, understanding where it's coming from, try to identify a need or a deep longing and want
Mm-hmm.
and validate the heck out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and the way that you validate is not to patronize them because as adults, we don't like being patronized. Kids
Mm-hmm.
certainly can sniff out being patronized, and they don't like that. So
Correct.
really tap into a time where you felt that similar need or want and how frustrating or upsetting it was that you didn't get it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the cell phone might represent a need to fit in socially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every human being I've ever spoken to or met wants to fit in socially to some extent,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're social creatures. So we can relate to that. Find
Mm-hmm.
something to relate to and
Mm-hmm.
validate and empathize with that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And that doesn't mean you
Doesn't
have
mean
to
you have to
like it.
solve.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to
I mean,
solve it. You don't have
right.
to agree with their conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have to, show love and kindness and understanding of the feeling,
Got it.
right? And by the way, this whole process, you're modeling for your child how to deal with big feelings. You're feeling
Wow.
big feelings and you're modeling it, and then you're guiding them through the process of how to deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Once they're calm and they feel understood, almost always, unless there's an underlying, deeper issue,
Mm-hmm.
and that is in the relationship between child and parent, almost always the kid starts to calm down and
Mm-hmm.
you slowly start to see the brain cells come
Mm-hmm.
in,
Right. My question
that,
would be is like, what if this
mhm.
keeps happening, right? Like, I feel like you're positively reinforcing negative behavior, right?
Yeah.
You're giving so much
So,
positive
yeah.
attention to really negative behavior.
So then not necessarily in that conversation because they're
Mm-hmm.
still going to be amped up,
Mm-hmm.
but in another conversation, you want to be proactive and say, hey, look, it really upset me or it really made me feel sad,
Mm-hmm.
um, when you spoke to me that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally get why you were feeling so upset and so
Mm-hmm.
angry or feeling so left out. And I want to talk about solutions with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm wondering if we can have a redo,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you tell me what about your feeling. You tell me about,
Mm-hmm.
how upset you are, and you tell me why. And we're going to have a whole conversation about it, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
do it the right way. And you
Right.
literally try to have the right version of that conversation again and again. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to give them what they want, but
Mm-hmm.
you want to actively brainstorm with them in that redo conversation
Mm-hmm.
how to get the underlying need met. So if it's a social thing, right, with the phone, then you can explain to them, especially if they're a teenager, explain to them your rationale if you feel very much against them having a phone
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, but what else can we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's taking them out to social engagements, whether it's getting them a cool color nail polish, whether it's taking them to the mall, taking them shopping, making
Mm-hmm.
them feel cool and with it, right? Like addressing the underlying need. And
Need
just because
without.
they might agree with your rule doesn't mean then you should just like stop and be like, okay, mission accomplished. Mission
Mm-hmm.
accomplished is when your child feels like you've really got their backs. So you
Right.
want to make sure that you have their backs.
And that point of that conversation, that redo conversation, is to have them say it the right way, like to tell them that like the way you spoke, let's say, previously, the way, we had that conversation was unacceptable, or, is less than leaves a lot to be desired. How can we do that again in a better way? That is totally
Yeah.
reminding my mom. Like that is,
Yeah.
it would actually annoy me because it was like a week later, it would be like, you remember that time that I like totally, like we were like, it was totally fine the way you behaved? Well, it wasn't so fine.
Yeah,
Like
no, so
that is
you don't
like
want it to be a week later. You want it to be recent
close
enough
enough. Yeah, I
that
get
it's
that.
close
Right.
enough. But at the same time, you don't want to lecture them because no one likes a lecture, right? So you want it
Exactly.
to sound almost like, look, that way of communicating didn't really work, and it didn't really help me understand what was going on for you. And also it felt disrespectful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to have a conversation with you where we have the space to figure out what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to be able to try to figure a way to give you what you need. It might look different than what you're hoping for, but I really want to try to figure this out with you. So I want to do a redo where you share with me, and you might have to teach them if you haven't already, then you have to teach them. I want you to tell me what you feel, why you feel that way, and let's brainstorm what we can do about it.
Yeah, totally. No,
Okay. You're teaching them relationship skills, right?
Exactly.
With siblings, with partners, with spouses, right? You want to like be able to say the same thing. I feel this and this is what I need, right? That's healthy communication. So you're basically just teaching them what that looks like, and you're showing them that you're on their side when you really take the time to like figure out what they want and need and put an effort to get that for them.
Right. And so I guess like also one of the main takeaways is not to push them away when they're having that outburst, because that's like saying that your big feelings are not acceptable, even if they're just, coming in that manner, which is disrespectful. And then like close in proximity within a few days or whatever it is, to really address that and to model and role play with them, like how to do it differently next time.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a few days. It could be a few hours later when you're saying goodnight to them. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Michal, I think this was awesome. I have to bounce.
Alrighty. Thank you, Faye.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. I know that it was not under the best circumstances. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And maybe we will do a part 2, because I feel like it's a lot. There's so much to address here.
Let's remember the other questions.
Yeah. If you want to remember them or scroll, let's see if we can see them easily. Can we speak about the idea of having a big feeling? I mean, I guess we can, of course. Always talk about that. Can you also talk about teachers, how to deal with teenagers acting out in school? That's a lot. I wonder how different that would be than what we just shared. I don't know how much teachers are committed. I think teachers do take it much more personally versus being committed to like the healing and growth of a child, but that could just be my stereotype. I'm sure there are teachers that are very committed to the healing and growth of their students, but I think that I can see that they would take it more personally because it's like their job's at stake, But
it depends. I think it's a big conversation that the academics, the teachers, and parenting, like the partnership between,
parents,
educational systems and parents. Yeah.
Exactly. Alrighty, so we are going to bounce, and I will see you next week, Michali. And if you want to do
it,
we'll talk about it off the gram. Alrighty,
that's great.
I hope your AC goes back on. I'm gonna have
Amen. Thank you. Everyone have me in your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I definitely will. I'm going home to
Bye.
All right, take care. Have a good one. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.